Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Week 14 DraftKings picks and preview the optimals, the defenses, and the best tournament on DraftKings. DraftKings Listeners League Pat Mayo Experience Edition. $15 to play, 3 max entry, no rake whatsoever. You want the link? It's easy stuff. It's down in the description. It's half full right now. Let's get that close to full by Saturday morning, and then I'll feel pretty good about it, and then they won't make it smaller. We've been keeping it 3,000 every single week. I don't know why you wouldn't be playing in it, because that seems stupid, but hey, here we are. Go play in the league, and if you want to make your lineups easier, runthesims.com/Mayo will get you 10% off the custom optimizer, plus all the prop tools and projections, ownerships, everything like that. Smash the like and sub to the channel, and we're off to the races. Tambo, back from San Diego, $40,000 richer. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. No podium finish, unfortunately, but a fun run. Nonetheless, always good to be down there, see some of the guys and girls that make it every year, and have some fun at the event. It was a great time put on by DraftKings, as always.
And you said you'd give away 5% of those earnings.
I did say that.
So we have $2,000 to give away to people.
Yes, we do. $2,000. We're going to give it away. You and I talked a little pre-show. I think the best way to do it, we'll come up exact structure and break it out. I'll put it on Twitter or something. But up front, just so you know, follow Pat on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, at Totag and Tambo. Pat, at the PME. You probably know this. Leave a comment down below. We're going to do a ballot system. We're going to give away $500 a week. So 4 lucky winners.
What if we do 500, 500, 1,000 right before Christmas?
I like that better, actually. Yes. See, that's what we worked this out together.
3 weeks of giveaways on the Pat Mayo Experience.
I love it. 500, 500, 1,000, Christmas money. What's the movie Christmas Vacation? My bonus. Didn't turn out to be as good for old Clark Kent there, but the setup.
Clark Griswold.
Clark Griswold. Sorry, I'm thinking the opposite. But the Clark Griswold bonus check, this is going to be a lot better for somebody else. 500, 500, 1,000. I like that.
So here's what we can do. You follow you on Twitter, you get 2 ballots. You follow me, you get 1.
Good deal.
If you're already following both of us, you're in the draw already. Straight up, you're into that draw. How about subscribe to the Mayo Media Network?
Yeah.
That will be worth 3 ballots. Subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star rating and review with your Twitter handle in it, so we know that it's you, on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Just screenshot it to us. That can be worth 7 ballots?
That's worth more.
Yeah, that one's worth the most.
We got to keep this going. Again, keep the engagement rolling and keep this thing on top. So let's do that.
And for every, you can retweet the show any Pat Mayo Experience once, or any fantasy football picks and bets with you and me once. That'll be worth 1 per retweet of the show.
I'm in.
So boom.
I like it. Gonna be fun to give it away. A lot of fun. Like a lot of people supported me, rooted me on. I definitely appreciate that.
Were you like do you feel like you were the public favorite going into King of the Beach?
I had a couple people think that. I personally didn't. It was one of the strongest fields I've been there many of the years.
No, not in terms of actual odds, but like in terms of like people's support.
Oh, yeah,
everyone
definitely had the most support. Even guys that were there with 1 entry or something were like, oh man, we're cheering you on to come back from last year, get the win. But if it's not me, hopefully it's you. Like I said, it's always a good group. Everybody wants to win. But once it's down to the end and you sort of know what's going on, that's where others that were out of it were coming up to me and being like, all right, we just need Eckler here, because Eckler was the big favorite that I needed to move me up the board. And to be honest, no one's going to complain about 40,000 or a 6th place finish. I truly wanted the podium for the trophies and more, but the money, of course. But the ending of the game was 2 Devontae Adams touchdowns and a Keenan Allen touchdown, and I had Eckler and Jacobs both rolling in that lineup when all the other games had ended. So it was like I really just needed some of that work to go to them, and it could have been a much better week. But again, we're not going to complain, and saving it for New Orleans next week. So we'll do something with that one too. We'll figure it out. But I definitely think that's going to be a lot of fun with $2.5 million up top for first place. 200 people in the tournament instead of 75, but still solid.
You met a few listeners too down there who qualified on like $5 entries, didn't you?
Yeah, oh yeah, there were definitely some guys that got in on the $5. That was the thing I love about King of the Beach. We spent time on this leading up and talking about throughout the season on the show, but $5, it's a 5 max. Nobody can 150 max to get in. They have buy-ins as low entry point as $5, and there was 2 different people down there that I met that loved the show, talked about it, all the content that we do, and said like we literally got in for $5 on a showdown slate or on a main slate, and that's what they got there on. So yeah, they put in $5 entries other weeks, but they just don't play the higher dollar entries, so it's huge. They can get in off of that money.
Well, it's much better than I think I pumped like $1,000 into it on the $100 like single entry or two max entry. I came second like 3 times, so that was a lot of fun.
See, but that's
I got my money back.
That's
at
the
least.
battle. Yeah, that's me every year in the FFWC. Why I'm so excited about getting to New Orleans next week, because a lot of second places along the way. Very tough event to get into. So excited to finally be in one.
I did want to give a shout out to Ryan Fuller, who's a longtime viewer of the show, banked over 100K Thursday night showdown, was in for, let's see.
148.
Yeah, $148, walked away with $105,000. Baker to Van Jefferson, put him over the top.
Yeah, it was huge last night. Love that call. I talked about it on the Run Pure show yesterday, actually. I just thought I could see it from a mile away. It's just Baker comes in, the heroics, headbutting people, doing all the stuff that he does, and sure enough, he got there, so it was pretty awesome to see, and shout out to Ryan. That's a huge win, massive ROI.
Yeah, I was talking to Paul beforehand. He's like, that's what I think is going to happen to me every time I play Showdown with one lineup. Hey, apparently it can work.
What he said, it's been a journey. One day it will, and finally he got the bag, he said. So
I don't think that one day it will for everybody. It can't work like that.
Not for everybody, but for some, and if you can't be in it, hey, you can't win it if you're not in it. That's what we say, so.
I suppose that's true.
It's true.
So here's what we're going to do. I added the newsletter to this too. So you can sub to the newsletter for free down in the description. That'll be worth 5 ballots. So I'm going to face the camera so we can get a social media clip out of this. All right? What are we going to call this? The 3 weeks of giveaways?
Oh, geez. Now we got to come up with a name for this
Yeah.
thing? Just call it my bonus. I don't know. My Christmas bonus.
All right. Do you want a Christmas bonus? $2,000 being given away on the Pat Mayo Experience thanks to Tyler Tamboline at Toteg and Tambo on Twitter. So thank you very much following your success at the King of the Beach DraftKings contest. We're all rooting for you in the Fantasy Football World Championships, but here's how you enter the draw. We're going to do 3 giveaways. 1 week, $500. The next week, $500. And right before Christmas, $1,000 to the winner. Here's how you enter. Boom. You follow at Toteg and Tambo on Twitter. That's 2 ballots. You follow at the PME on Twitter. That's 1 ballot. You retweet any part of our content, the tidbits from Tambo on Saturday, any of the shows from me, that's 1 ballot per retweet or share on Facebook or TikTok, wherever it may be. Boom. You subscribe to Mayo Media Network on YouTube, 3 ballots. You subscribe to the Mayo Media newsletter, which you can find in the description to the show, completely free, 5 ballots. But the big one that you really want to do, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience Audio Podcast. Apple, Spotify, leave a 5-star review. Something you enjoy about the show, you can make it up. For all I care, just those 5 stars include your Twitter handle or email to get yourself in the draw. If you've done that already, gotta do it again to bump yourself back up to the very top of the list. If you do Spotify, just send me a screenshot with the 5 stars. That literally takes 3 seconds to do. So $500 winner, $500 winner, and maybe you'll be the lucky one who gets the $1,000. Thank you, Tambo, for being so good at this.
Happy to do it. Again, appreciate all the support from everybody, like you said. And I love these ballot contests because some people say, hey, I need to do all these things. No, you don't. You just do, the more you do, the more you get, the ballots wise. And on top of it, when we break it out 500, 500, 1,000, you have multiple chances to win. So if you don't win the first one, you're not out. You've already engaged. You've already done the stuff we've asked. You're there. Those ballots go into the next draw the following week, and there's 1 winner removed. So I personally love it, Pat. I think it's the best way to do it. Always happy to give back. It's been a big thing, and a lot of people support me, and I appreciate it.
Let's get into Week 14 DraftKings main slate. All of our favorites are off the slate.
Is that a good thing?
We got no Chargers. We got no Dolphins. Like, I love those 2 teams. Those are like 2 of my favorite teams to just pile, like, value-wise every single week.
We get to see them, though.
They're the best. We do.
Sunday night. That's going to be a good
Well,
one.
Feinberg, we got Gary on the show, Dolphins fan, and then we're going to call Feinberg with like 5 minutes before the game to see if he's in absolute meltdown mode.
Yeah.
But I wanted to generate the optimal lineup of the week for the main slate from runthesims.com. And here's what we got. Let's go in here. Joe Burrow is the optimal quarterback right now, and this is before all the injury news and everything trickles out, so you can refresh it on the weekend and everything will get updated. Pollard and Latavius Murray as the running backs. Amon-Ra, Zay Jones, Garrett Wilson. That's been pretty common. Like, that's been the optimal wide receiver core for like 3 straight weeks now. It's been working out pretty well. Dulcich and Jerry Jeudy. So 3 Broncos in this. I don't know how I like that optimal lineup, and the Cowboys defense. I think it was just a way to work the Cowboys defense into it per the computer. I don't love that lineup.
I personally don't. I would just say there's some pieces in there we like. One thing I'll note for sure, what you just said, though, is the pricing just doesn't change enough. Like, even this week, people are saying, oh, Monroe's finally to the right price. I don't think so. He's still cheap. Like, again, it doesn't mean I'm going to go there. It doesn't mean I love it. I'm just saying the point being they never seem to update these prices. Burrow went up $100 after pumping the Kansas City Chiefs for 30-something DraftKings points. Then you got Garrett Wilson goes off again. What's he go up to? 5,900? Can't even break 6K. Like, this is just little things where they're not giving a significant enough increase. And it's interesting. I'm not sure if they want to keep it softer on purpose, but when you and I do the golf content, you'll see a golfer go up 2,000. I know strength of field changes, but so does matchup and things like that, where I just don't see enough in the price changes. So we have to take that into consideration when we're building the lineup. So we definitely have an interesting slate with the Detroit-Minnesota game, Cincy-Cleveland game, and then sort of a drop-off from there where you can just start fitting pieces based on injury and setup.
You also have to look at the Cowboys offense, too, because that game total is not super high, but they're implied, I think, for the most points on the slate.
Almost 31, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So let's talk about optimal running backs to start off with. I just ran the optimal rates for the main slate. Who do you think the top 5 running backs are?
They're probably all the same guys that pop. Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry, number 1.
DeAndre Swift?
Number 4. I don't like Swift this week, by the way.
We could talk about him. I like him in game stacks. ETN still?
No, ETN is like 7 now.
Mixon, if he's in?
Mixon's number 2. And I mean, I guess Pirine would be number 1 if there is no Mixon.
He would just swap it out because he's even a little bit
he'd
cheaper.
probably be even higher because then there's no risk of anyone really taking away from him.
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook is number 5. So you're 4 for 5. Latavius Murray is number 3.
He likes Latavius, and that's interesting because some people, like some sharper guys, played Latavius last week and didn't.
I played Latavius last week. Didn't work out.
I know that. It definitely didn't work out, but I was just surprised to see it. I know based off the volume and the carries and with everything they've done with getting rid of Gordon and all that, sort of opened things up a little bit for him, but he still got like 17 carries and just didn't do anything with it, I think. So
it happens.
Yeah, either way, it makes sense from that perspective. I just didn't really have him on my list. So
this is a much better matchup for him, and the reason that I think that he's appearing in all these optimal lineups is because he's $5,200. Now, I would actually prefer to use Donta Foreman at $5,400.
Right.
Because I like the Seattle offense passing game. Do we have any idea who's going to play running back for the Seahawks this week?
Still waiting on it.
It's not going to be Walker. He's not going to play.
Well, I was just say still waiting because Walker's for sure doubtful, and then it's the setup of DJ Dallas. I know,
but he's doubtful now too.
He's exactly. I was just going to say, so Travis Homer. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. Homer missed last week. How much is Travis Homer?
He was
because he's 5,000 even. Like I got all my lineups to work last week by using Bam Knight, and he ended up being pretty good. He scored like 18 DraftKings points for $4,600.
Yeah, if you could get to the Mike White, Knight, Wilson lineup together, I think that was the trio you could put together that really did quite well. You didn't need Mike White, but still, if you had those other two, I know that was in the Million Maker winner.
It's funny because when I made my main lineup last week, I actually punched Knight out because I ended up using a ton of Brian Robinson, who got the work. He just didn't get there all the way. He still had like 14 DraftKings points. It wasn't the end of the world, but I tried to build like these game stacks, like where am I going to go with everything? And I had 2 like mini stacks. I didn't overload anything, and it was between Lawrence and Mike White. And I dropped down from Lawrence to Mike White for those savings to upgrade to, I think it was Keenan Allen from someone else.
Yeah.
And that ended up being the difference in my lineups and me actually having a really good week.
Solid, yeah, that worked out good. And I mean, Lawrence could have done a lot more. Surprised, just thankful and lucky that he even came back after the Twitter doctor sat him out for a season or more based on the ACL tear and everything.
It looked bad.
It definitely did look bad. I'm not saying that. It was just funny that right away he's never coming back. He's done for the season. Second, I was up. I had to go back to the hotel room for a minute just to take a breather. I was like, that's my day. It's done. So. But yeah, it ended up working out in the end. He came back, got another 10 or 11 DraftKings points. So solid there. Mike White, I don't know. But these running backs, like you said, just going back to it, I was surprised. Where's Foreman at on the list? Speaking of that Seattle side, what about the other side of that game?
Foreman's number 9.
Okay.
So I think you could swap him with Murray if it's a $200 difference. And maybe that $200 is going to be imperative this week when we start building through these lineups. But
yeah. So I asked because when you brought up the Latavius Murray thing, I kind of like it because I actually don't hate the Denver defense, even though it is against Mahomes and the Chiefs. I just know that they're cheap and people are looking at the Panthers down there against Seattle, or they're looking at, and we're going to talk defense later, or they're looking at the Steelers against Baltimore. And I think both those spots are pretty just as tough, to be honest. So I'd rather find the one that's under-owned, and Denver came through last week.
You have all of these like cheaper running backs this week, and we're probably going to end up using one of them, like the one that we drop to when we do our builds every single time. I do think it's between Murray, Foreman, and even Bam Knight with Michael Carter back. I don't love it. It's against the Bills. It's not a great spot. They do throw to him a little bit, but they prefer to either throw to Ty Johnson or Michael Carter. That I think it's between Murray and Foreman as the two paid down running backs this week.
Ooh, what about, I like one more, actually. I like James Cook.
Do you?
Oh, definitely.
I feel like that's
5 and 6 targets the last 2 weeks,
I just feel
14
like
carries.
That's such a spot to fail.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a great spot on paper to me, and it's also a nice little mini stack if you do want to play Wilson or a Conklin or something like that and then spend up everywhere else. I think it's definitely a good spot to attack. Buffalo favored by 10 at home.
If this switched back to being a Singletary game, would you be stunned?
I mean, it just hasn't ever come true. If you unless you think the Jets keep it pretty close.
I do think that Jets.
Then you want to be on Singletary. Either way, then it's.
I don't know
better.
if I want to be on either of them, but I think that Singletary just might eat like everything that Cook did last Thursday. I think that might be his peak for the season in terms of his usage, and it just kind of drops back to maybe not where it was, but somewhere slightly above where it was, like 30%, 35% of the touches instead of 20%.
The price is just so it's 4,600. Like it's almost. I mean, 600 away from Stone Min for this spot. I just can't avoid it completely. I wouldn't hate mixing some Singletary in there. If you want to do that, you can do it and use it up that way. But I think this game is going to go overlooked because of the total and its division game and all these factors that you could still use a piece or two from either side. If you're like Wilson or you like Conklin or you want to go back to Mike White or anything like that, then I think you could start to mix in some of these Buffalo pieces. He's just one that stood out as a cheaper option at running back.
Let's say that there is no one in the Seahawks backfield besides Homer, who is the only one practicing at the moment at 5,000. Who would you prefer between those two?
Yeah, it's probably if it's only him. I mean, obviously, then you got nobody else behind you. It's a little bit different scenario, but yeah, I still like James Cook. I'm going to play him this week. I'm just making sure the people know.
All right, yeah, you want to get that out there into the ether. The other one I was looking at, like Kareem Hunt's down to $4,600.
Yeah, what's going on with him?
I don't know.
It's the same price as Cook, but again, same thing. It's been crazy the non-usage, if you will, of Kareem Hunt. We've been since the start of the season trying to make the guy work, and did it ever work? I'm trying to remember back. I think
he had like 2 good weeks very early in the season because he kept stealing touchdowns from Nick Chubb.
Yeah, he's less than half the snaps for 5, 6, 7, 8, pretty much every week.
I would get that. You have Nick Chubb. You should probably use that
and
guy.
Nick Chubb has been working out, so I guess that's the thing. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. It didn't work out for people last week, that's for sure.
So I think it's more important to focus on the bottom end here of which running back are we going to play, which pair of running backs are we going to save money with, based on the stacks we want to do. Like if we have the money for, I don't know, Derrick Henry, that's great.
I was just going to say that too. I don't know your thoughts. That's why it's good we talk through this, but feels like everyone thinks you just, it's the week you have to pay up at wide receiver. I actually love a bunch of the cheap wide receivers or mid-tier guys where I can pay up at running back. So I'm not sure how much I'll need the James Cook situation I brought up. I'll definitely have him because I'll use him in that sort of mini stacks that I talked about. But when you've got, who do we got? Let me just sort it by price. But McCaffrey all the way up at the top. Probably won't use him as much as Derrick Henry, but even Dalvin Cook, if people are going to get
How about Nick Chubb?
He's fine too. It's
flop
lag.
Based on the projections right now, no one's using Nick Chubb.
Yeah, definitely a good spot. And like I said, he failed everybody last week in the nut matchup that everyone would expect him to go off. It didn't work out. The main thing is that that's your pivot because Derrick Henry would be the popular pick here if paying up. $7,900. It's what do they say? December for D Henry. I forget what they call it, but it's definitely his time of the year when people play him and when the so-called winter tires get put on. Now, he started early this year. We've talked about it on this show, but $7,900, he'll make sense. Dalvin Cook, I'm not sure what he'll get to because he's in the game that people are going to.
But everyone likes every other piece of that game.
But I was just going to say, even like Thielen is showing ownership. Hawkinson revenge game. Got to play him in there. So like, how does that really work fully? Obviously, he'll have ownership because he's in that spot, but just how much? And I think he's really good at 7,300. And then Mixon, who we talked about. We didn't talk about yet where did those Dallas guys show up, by the way? I know it sucks because they're splitting, so maybe that hurt them a little
No, they were both up there. They're 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Zeke is 9 and Pollard 10. I think Zeke is a great play this week.
I'm on the opposite. I'm on Pollard.
I think Pollard is probably, to win like a milli maker, he's probably your 200-yard, 3-touchdown guy. But I just think in the physics of this game, this is a classic Zeke 17 for 89 and 2-touchdown game.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, and both can get there.
At 6,100.
I think wherever you land, exactly $600 more. I know it's expensive to go up to Pollard from Zeke right there at 6,100. My thoughts are guys that actually get 100 on the ground. These guys give it up, by the way, and so that's Pollard multiple times. Some injury scenarios, of course, but then also just the targets through the air and stuff like that, where Dak can throw him touchdowns. So really, interesting dynamics to the slate, even outside of the fact that the obvious of Minnesota-Detroit's the big total in the Dome. Detroit gets smashed. Everything Minnesota's maybe not as good as what people think. A little bit overrated based on schedule or certain factors. But either way, there is other spots that we can go. And so, like I said, there's just a lot of options that I think you could pay up for this week.
How do you feel about Pacheco at 57? I don't love it.
Yeah, I'm not big on him. A lot of people liked him last week again, too. He's just been, everything's been fair with what he's doing, right? It makes sense, putting up 14, 15 points. The spot, I don't know. Like I said, I actually like Denver defense here, so see about that. They're 2,300 this week, and I don't mind that option down at the bottom.
You mentioned the paid down receivers. So we have a few wide receiver optimals. I mean, Amon-Ra is number one. He's been number one. He's been great every single week. And like you mentioned, he's only 7,800. He's not even 8,000 yet. I think the big discrepancy, even at running back and receiver so far, has been their unwillingness to, like, someone like Dalvin Cook. It continues to be like 7,300 every week. He should, based on like the performance of the other guys, he should be like 6,400 every week.
Yeah.
And they're not dropping those guys down. So it's compressing some of the guys who maybe should be taking a bigger leap forward and making them values. It's
exactly what they're doing. Like the Amon-Ra is a better example, I think, even because it's this fact of like Swift and Williams just eat each other's lunch. Williams never really crushes it. He gets 2 or 3 touchdowns, and that's what he gets, that score. And then you go to Swift. They haven't been mixing it up. Finally, last week, it's a little bit more usage, but is it enough to warrant a bigger price for him? Probably not. So then they say, okay, well, if that's all we could put them to, how can we put Amon-Ra at 8,900? You just can't. And probably, shouldn't be maybe that high, but you know what I'm saying. Like, that's the exact delta like you were giving. They go off of what the other guys in the team are doing in the range that they fall into. But yeah, I've got those same guys at the top. The top of my board looks like Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Garrett Wilson. You can mix some other guys in there. Thielen actually pops because he's in that game script as well. But the point would be there is other options here. And then you have to add two. People are going to play Lamb a little bit because of his spot against Houston. People are going to play Jamar Chase for the Cincy with Burrow stacks, maybe Higgins. So that's sort of where I see everybody going to. And I think, again, we can look outside the box a little bit and just go down on some of those exact spots.
So here are the top 5 in terms of optimal rate as of Friday morning. Amon-Ra, number 1. Zay Jones, number 2. Garrett Wilson, number 3. Deontay Johnson, Jerry Jeudy. Assuming there's Cortland Sutton's not going to play.
Deontay, man, gosh, this team is...
Well, his expected fantasy point rate is through the roof.
Always, yeah.
So simulators are going to love him.
Yeah.
Based on what the volume that he gets, the targets that he sees, he should just be scoring touchdowns, and he's not.
It is true. I mean, there was that, I think it was like a 2-week lull or something where he didn't even get that, and then people are, what's wrong with him? And now that's George Pickens from last week, and now he's talking it up and saying he needs more targets, and he's angry and all this sort of thing. But I don't know. You can definitely get there. Like the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game is another division game, low total, etc. But
I don't love that game.
I wouldn't either for stacking up, but I understand why if people, because of the pricing on Pickett and Huntley has had good games. Mark Andrews, you can run it back with a guy like Deontay, or if you want to go to Pickens. So I don't hate it. It's not near my favorite when you go through what we're going to build out for stacks, so I won't make it there. But just to name some of the other guys, Pat, like going down the board.
Thielen is there at 49. He rates out really well. Juju at 56 rates out really well. Robert Woods and Isaiah McKenzie both rate out really well. They're $43 and $4,200. So
okay.
There's guys.
I can see those guys like Thielen still actually showing up with ownership because of the price and the game environment.
Thielen is showing 11% ownership right now.
I'm seeing 15. So even if it's somewhere in that range, again, there's, that's not bad. You can go there. I'm just saying it's going to be into this. He's going to flip into the same situation though. It's going to be him with Cousins and Jefferson or Hawkinson, and then the other side of the same game there. But just to name some others I got here, Amari Cooper, I'm seeing him around 10% ownership across from, in that Joe Burrow game, he's 6,200, but he is a wide receiver 1. Like that's a guy that can get you 30 plus points. So I think he's interesting.
Yeah, but it's on the road, so he can't do anything.
I don't even follow that stuff, but who cares? DJ Moore or LaVisca. I don't know what you're doing here in this game, but
it's DJ Moore, man.
I think it is.
Yeah, DJ Moore, 5,500. He lights it up when Darnold plays quarterback.
And this
is a bad defense.
Yeah, we'll see if Foreman picks up steam or who it ends up being. I don't think it's going to be DJ Moore, though, if you want to just play it. Let's say Foreman gets to 15 to 16%, and Moore is sitting there at 7 or 8%. I got no problem going to DJ Moore for $100 more, where most people are playing Foreman in the flex in like a 3 running back setup. You could just play another receiver and find the $100 and use DJ Moore. LaVisca is in that spot. It's 3,300.
Pass.
Value play though.
Why is it him over Terrace Marshall?
It doesn't matter. You play either. I'm just saying my point was pay down versus pay up. These are pay down options that no one's going to. T. Higgins is like 8% at $7,000. He's not a pay down option, but if you want someone different from up top, just a contrarian play.
No Hayden Hurst in this game, looking like it too.
Yeah, Mitch Wilcox would be the backup there we'll talk about, but I'd sooner just do what you said and just go to one of these other guys. But again, you've got the $100 difference there, like I just talked about with Foreman and DJ Moore. Mixon is $6,900, Higgins is $7,000. Something to keep in mind. Again, you don't have to play 3 running backs. You could go to it that way. I had a couple more, actually. Terrace Marshall did come up, so he was on the list. And then the 2 guys in Detroit, Chark, 4,300. He almost got the 100-yard bonus last week, something like 7 catches, 98, or it was somewhere along that.
I had his under receiving yards last week. He beat it on 1 catch.
Yeah, it was just incredible, the stuff he was doing. And overall, though, I think he had a good game.
He did. No, I think it was like 4 or 3 for like 90 or something.
But the beat report came out right before I got in here. You might not have seen it yet, that I was waiting for.
The Jamison Williams news?
That they got to get him more involved this week.
They do. That's true.
$4,400. I'll be taking shots. Don't care. Better, way underpriced for what he'll be eventually. And
he'll be the guy in the game that no one uses.
Yeah, and again, it's not like you're expecting 25 points, but can he put it up if he's getting more usage and more snaps and more work? Yeah, but I'm going to take the chance and risk it. The DJ Chark game was 5 for 98. 6 targets, 5 catches, 98 yards. I mean, that to me, like just setting it up, Pat, well, I know we're going to do some stacks. Everyone that puts Cousins is to run it back with Amon-Ra, or Goff is going to have Amon-Ra. You could run a Goff, Chark, Williams, or you could run a Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson revenge game with one of these cheap guys as the run back and skip out on Amon-Ra. Again, it feels like the guy will never fail, and it's been an incredible run since week 12 of last season. But if he does, you'd want it on a week like this where he's just the cut and dry, most popular, makes sense, perfect option in a game that everybody's going to more than usual. Last week, we still had other big totals on the slate. He was popular, but it wasn't like an automatic versus this week because everyone wants to pile on this game. I think that's one of the ways to get different, where you are in the exact same spot, same environment, but get different within it, using going away from Amon-Ra as an example.
Defenses for the week, where you say you like the Broncos at $2,300
as a cheaper option. Yeah, I think they're one of the better cheaper options at the bottom. But who else do you got?
I think I like the Browns or Jets, 26 and 25.
I like the Browns, especially because they're $200 less than Pittsburgh, so I had them tagged here.
Pittsburgh is rating out as the chalk defense, and Carolina as well. Carolina's $2,200. That seems to be where people are paying down to. Yeah. If they have a little bit more money, it's going to be the Steelers. But I don't see why the Jets are... Listen, I know Buffalo might post 55 on them, but Allen's been turning it over, and the Jets defense is good. I think this is going to be a very close game outdoors. And all you just need is one of those to pop up, and boom, bring it back the other way. You're good to go.
And Allen, even playing through all the injury and all that stuff, he's still been throwing picks and making mistakes and whatever. So I got no problem with that, actually. I like Denver instead of Carolina. And then I like Cleveland, who you mentioned, and for the $100 less, I like the Jets. So all 3 of those would stand out. Cowboys, though, I mean, we didn't talk about them, 3,800.
Well, it was like last week, I had my power rankings, like my actual rankings. I had Cleveland as the number 2 defense last week. I just looked at the price on DraftKings. I was like, I'm not going to pay this for Cleveland. Did anyone in King of the Beach have Cleveland?
I think one team
in good lineups.
No, and the reason they didn't, remember what happens is the classic old school secondary stack. The minute you go to Cleveland, who do you think they went with last week? Nick Chubb, smash spot, and did not smash. So one of those things.
Well, how can you smash when your defense scores 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, well, that was the craziest part of it was with Deshaun back, with Bryant.
When you sent me your lineups for King of the Beach, I couldn't believe you used Watson.
So I talked about this on the Monday review show on the RPS show, but I literally played to win.
Yeah.
So I played 2 completely different lineups, and with everyone on Bryant already and Collins and the good plays in that game, Pierce was underpriced. All these guys were popping in projections. The risk, everyone told me at the tournament, there's no way I can play Deshaun. They were right on why they shouldn't have played Deshaun, but that's not what I'm thinking.
It was like your Minshew call the year before.
I wanted to go with that exactly. So what I did, for those who don't know, is I overstacked the game. I ran him with DPJ and with Bryant. Deshaun is him. He was not him last week, But I ran those 3 together, ran opposite back. I went with Pierce, assuming the game would be kept close and needing something to push him. So Pierce with Nico Collins, DPJ, big Michigan guys coming off the win the day before for Michigan. Maybe I thought there was more angles to it, but they were underpriced. And I thought if that game could just go off, it let me fit all the other pieces. Here's an example. You know what my secondary stack in that lineup was? the guys that screwed me on the other lineup. Keenan Allen and Devontae Adams was my secondary stack, and they got all those points late to get me like an extra $1,000 in that, I think it was, versus what I needed in the other one for the big ups. But yeah, not doing that again, but I did play one lineup like that to hope that just one could get to the top versus 3v3 my main to try and get the closest one up there. If I had,
trying to come first and second kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Instead of doing that, I was really aiming just to come first, and it's just the way I played it. Worked out okay. I'll take it.
So here's Cowboys, $3,800, Bills $4,000. I think the Bills are a very nice pivot off the Cowboys if you had the money to do it, because just so few people are going to use the Bills, and I know that there are teams out there that are going to specifically target the Cowboys, knowing this is probably the best D versus offense matchup of the year for a fantasy defense. But they're not. I can almost guarantee you this: they will not score as many points this week as Cleveland did last week.
Yeah, that's a good point.
How are you going to score 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, 3,800 is expensive. You can get to it, no problem. The other thing is too is Davis Mills versus Kyle Allen.
A little bit better, although he's still
going to chuck it though. I think
he also
right?
stinks on the road.
Yeah,
I was looking at the Niners defense at $3,200. Like, yeah, that's the Bucs can't block.
How much are they? 32.
32.
Yeah, I mean, the same as always. We're going to spread it out. At D, we're naming some of the ones we definitely like, but wherever I land, I'm not. I don't see like. I guess what I would say the best way to round it up for me is what you kind of said. I don't see Dallas as this must find the money to get to them, pay up defense of the year that I need them. Now, because I'm saying that, I also agree that I don't think the ownership will be that. Maybe what do they get to? 15%?
Yeah, 13 to 17, I would guess.
Right, so it's fair. But that's what I'm saying. I'll have them in some. You'll go there in some. I'll play them with Zeke in some. Like I'll make things happen that make it make sense. Maybe the defense puts Zeke in position to bang a couple touchdowns in. Maybe Pollard goes off. I can put him with Pollard too, and that's where the defense gets to take over. That is the MO and the game plan of the Dallas Cowboys here. Right? It is and always has been. Let's slam these guys for the points that we're due, the 30 points on paper, and then let's let our pass rush tee off and take these guys to town and just crush. So can they get there? Yeah. Will they go for 3+ touchdowns? I don't know, but I don't think like I just lock them in all my lineups or anything.
In terms of like, I'm looking at the boom rate, and like the bust rate is so low for them this week, and that's why they're going to be such a popular defense. Just compared to every other DST on the board, their bust rate is like 36%, where their boom rate is 21%, which is super high for a defense. It's bound to be somewhere in the middle, but to like completely score like 1, 2, or 3 points seems crazy.
Do you have boom rates for the other defenses? Like what would be the next closest be?
That's what I want to go to. And weirdly enough, the Bills are number 2.
Okay.
The Ravens are number 3 against Pickett.
How much are the Ravens this
week? $3,300. No ownership coming in on them.
Oh, definitely no ownership coming in on them, but that might.
But
Pickett slings it around. But
big bust rate on them, but big boom rate.
I was trying just to look here, see while we're doing this live, but the Pickett. I don't know, man. Not a lot of big mistakes.
Not since the bye, but before that. But this is like a real defense he's playing. He's not playing Atlanta's defense anymore.
Yeah, you know me, Ravens homer, love them.
Their D is good, man.
It is, but it's not as what. Again, people always frame them up like the D from back in the day, like people do with the Bears and stuff too, from their D back in the day. These Ds just are not the same. Ravens do still have a very good defense, but at times, and they've got other liabilities that cause it so it leads to put more onto their D, which doesn't help the case, as we've seen with other teams throughout the year where, you know, if their quarterback can't help them out or they can't get there in the game, the D has to be out there a lot more, and that affects their results and abilities. So, I don't know. I like the other ones we talked about. Was there any cheapies that had a good boom rate?
Let's see here. Boom rate on the cheap defenses. We got Steelers are the best. Steelers and Jets.
I think I like this Jets call.
I like the Jets too. Their bust rate is bad. Like they have one of the highest bust rates because they're playing Buffalo.
Yeah.
But they also have one of the highest boom rates because of Allen and the pressure that their defense can post. Like after that, like the Panthers do rate out pretty high. They're like 8th in boom rate. The Eagles are an interesting one too. Like if you really didn't want to use Dallas, but you had the money just to get different, like Philly against Danny Dimes or Vanilla Vic, as some people are now calling him.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Not a bad spot. Although they try to run so much, it's not a great team to play a defense against because they haven't been fumbling. Like Daniel Jones used to fumble all the time.
Yeah, one thing I will say too, though,
Broncos just a hair behind the Eagles.
I like that.
But like, why not the Chiefs?
It's fine. I just think that's where I like the unknowns of like people don't necessarily want to play a Denver or a Jets because of Mahomes and Allen. But again, as we've talked about so many times, it's like it's the opposite effect in defense. People thinking you need a shutout. Barely anybody gets a shutout. If you get that, that's like the gravy on top, the bonus. That's not why we're playing them. What we're looking at is two guys in Mahomes and Allen that chuck the ball around a ton. Yes, they're going to score points. Can other guys make mistakes? Can Pacheco fumble? Yes. Can other guys like James Cook, a rookie, come through and make mistakes for Buffalo? Yes. And does New York Jets have a good defense? Yes. You know, is the Denver defense strong? Yes. So I see that. There was something you said right before that. I was thinking of something else. I was going to say, who's the other D you said that was right there?
The Eagles, the Chiefs.
Oh, the Eagles. I believe Jordan Davis
is back.
Yeah. The run stopper.
But that's great. That means you're just getting rushes for 2 yards.
That's what I mean. They're not going to be able to do as much, I don't think, anyway. So, yeah, it could be a spot for Philly, but not way up my list either. They are, oh, wow, pivot off of – man, I don't know. There's too many Ds. Them and Kansas City are pivots right off of Dallas there if you just wanted to get different. But I can't think off the top of my head, at least right now, think more before a Sunday free show over at Run Pure Sports about is there an angle? Like Kansas City versus Denver, I don't see Denver as any. You know what I mean by that is like are a bunch of people playing Denver? Then sometimes it's an idea to go pivot off of that and say, okay, I'll play the other side. The week that Joe Mixon went off when nobody was on him, I think the defense against him was chalk that week. Well, Carolina,
track your Latavius Murray ownership as the week goes along.
Right.
It's pretty high right now, but I do think that the more Foreman becomes healthy, that's going to go on to Foreman.
I think it would go on to
Foreman. Or it drops down to Travis Homer if he's the only guy who's there.
That makes perfect sense, yeah. And then the other one we talked about there was Philly. And
I think I would just find the money for the Bills and play Mike White, who might throw the ball 55 times.
Yeah. Well, I definitely that's a better call, at least from what I'm seeing right now, in my opinion. And then or just go to the Dallas D and eat it, because if it's at 15%, you're not dead or anything. Like if you got the money to get there,
then do it.
Don't be afraid to get there.
I think we're also listen. If we had to power rank regardless of price, regardless of ownership, I think we'd all have Dallas at number 1.
Yeah, of course. That's the obvious. That exactly. We're saying we're beating around the obvious. We'll see when we build out some of these lineups
how it fits.
Do we get there?
I'm more confident we end up with Jets and Broncos and Browns in most of our lineups rather than the Cowboys.
And I was just gonna say it's not like a normal week. I don't think it will be this week where you and I sit down and we go, okay, here's our stack. Now plug in that cheap D, because we have options. We just named 10 options that we could get to, so we can go to D later and see what fits versus what's the natural plug-in that we normally do.
Let's build out some of these stacks. Let's start with Detroit, Minnesota. I think that's going to be the popular one this week. Which side do you think is going to be the stackable side?
Which side do you think is they're both very stackable. That was another component I brought up for this game, Pat. I talked about it on the Thursday Night Football show on the Mayo Media Network here on the Prize Picks show.
There you go.
About that's what's the interesting component here. It's the high total game. That's a separated game from all the other totals, but then it's also one of the most stackable games. It's not like we have Kansas City Cincy last week when not only was there other high totals, but it's hard to stack Kansas City since he was getting back an extra piece in Jamar Chase. This game is like, what, Goff, Swift?
I think that Goff and Cousins will be the two highest owned quarterbacks.
Right.
I think that Goff is going to be the highest owned quarterback, mainly because his stacks are just easier to do.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
He's cheaper than Cousins. Amon-Ra is cheaper than Jefferson. Like, there's no way that you could do a triple. I mean, there is a way, but you could do a triple stack with Cousins and use Hawkinson or Thielen along with Jefferson, and then get Amon-Ra back. The rest of your team kind of sucks if you do that. Yeah. If you do the Detroit side and you do Goff and Amon-Ra and Chark or Williams or Brock Wright, whoever the hell you want to use, or even just those two, you can still afford Jefferson if you wanted it.
One of the reasons I think Cousins picks up the steam, just to be, devil's advocate, is because of Hawkinson. Hawkinson revenge game.
Do you really think this Hawkinson revenge game is? If that's the case, then we should be playing every single bit of Adam Thielen or KJ Osborne.
Instead, I agree. I'm not doubting it. I'm saying, but the reason I think is because Amon-Ra is the obvious, right? Even if people can talk themselves into a second Detroit piece like a Chark or like a Jameson Williams, if we get there, or a Swift, I think it's still via a Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson, right? Or they get off that and go to...
How many people do you think are building Cousins stacks that aren't using Jefferson?
I think enough, to be honest, because Thielen's got the ownership steam and because it's tough. Let's do this. Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson, Amon-Ra. How much does it leave us? 4,400.
That's not great.
You throw in a cheap D... Yeah, you're not in a good spot, man, when you got that. You got to punt
that's
a lot.
Tough. Like, how many Cousins, Thielen, Hawkinson do you think you're going to see?
That's maybe why we're seeing the Thielen. Here's what I know is for a fact is the Amon-Ra conversation we already had.
He's going to be.
He's
gonna
not
be like
going
35.
away. He's not going away from any of these stacks, or at least not very often. We know others out there will build savvy and do it just to get different. But what I'm saying is that is why I think we're seeing the ownership pop on Thielen. Just the game environment, but the savings, man. 4,900 versus 9,000.
Okay, so if we plug all these guys in and we use, let's say, Jets D to go along with it. So Cousins, Latavius Murray, Travis Homer. Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Hawkinson, Jets D. We now have 4,600 per player for a wide receiver and a flex. That's not great.
Right. So I'm looking at it, at least similar to what you said, though. If you go Cousins, Thielen, Hawkinson.
Yeah, we got way more money.
Run it back with Amon-Ra. Go with Latavius. Let's go Denver D. It's $300 cheaper or $200 cheaper, and it goes with Latavius. We'll just say you have 6,200 left for a running back, a wide receiver, and a flex. That's a lot of money.
That makes a lot more sense at this point. For like how good, you miss out on the upside of Jefferson. Is what like if he scores 40, you're dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
did you like any Jacksonville receivers this week?
I always kind of lean.
Tennessee. Right?
I always lean towards Kirk because I feel like he's perpetually under-owned for the upside that he possesses. But why do you want to go Henry, Zay Jones in this?
Well, that's what I was looking at, right? But Kirk is probably much better off. But let's just say
he's way more expensive.
Way more expensive. If you go
Henry, Zay Jones, you have $6,000 for a flex.
And we got options there for sure.
And what do we have at 6,000? You have like Dameon Pierce. Now you have Garrett Wilson at 59, who's one of the best values on the board. And it does give you your three optimal receivers that were spit out: Garrett Wilson, Zay Jones, and Amon-Ra St. Brown for the week.
Or you could just plug in DeAndre Swift.
I don't get the obsession with DeAndre Swift this week. He's back on the injury report, by the way.
Oh yeah, I should note too. Yeah, that is true. First of all, I should note that. But also, I'm only using Swift in stacks. So it's like if I'm playing Swift, I have to have a Minnesota guy, if not a full game stack, for him to be involved. And that's the only reason I brought it up here is because then you can go off Denver. You can get your what I say but I like it too, is the Jets D. That's a really nice lineup. Kirk, Cousins, Thielen, Hawkinson, Amon-Ra, Swift game stack, Henry, Zay Jones, Latavius Murray, Jets D.
Like, I think I would feel more comfortable, weirdly enough. Like, we have Zay Jones in this lineup. We have Broncos D. I'd like to get back up off Broncos D and maybe try to find a different way to do this. But, like, I really like DJ. I would rather go DJ Moore instead of... I would like to use Garrett Wilson there. But instead of using DeAndre Swift, use DJ Moore in my flex, drop Murray down to Homer and have a mini game stack there. And now I have, spend up to...
Drop Henry down to Homer?
No, keep Henry. Okay. Drop Latavius Murray down to Homer. Use DJ Moore in the flex. And then have a defense up to $3,000 if we want it.
Oh, okay. DJ Moore in the flex.
You can use like Browns D. You still have $400 left over. But you have Homer, DJ Moore, Henry, Zay Jones, and then the Cousins stack without Jefferson.
Yeah, and you got 3,000 left.
And I use Browns D. You could use Jets D. You could use whatever, right?
Yeah, I don't hate that either. Again, Homer is going to become much more appealing if we get the spot, right? Like if Walker and DJ Dallas are both out.
Even if DJ Dallas is in, I think that they use Homer. Like that's the way that they've always used those two when both those guys are active. The only reason that DJ Dallas got run last week is because Homer was inactive and then Walker went down. That's it. And the only reason he came back in the game is because Tony Jones got a concussion.
I mean, I know he's the running back 3 on this team, but man, it's very thin.
It's a spot.
It's just a spot play. Yeah.
Like that could be, was it him or was it DJ Dallas? It was a few years ago in New England. He was the only guy left. He ended up scoring like 2 touchdowns. He was like 16 for 66 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, we would love that. We would absolutely take that. I'm saying, I think it's like, I'm looking at numbers from back to a year ago, and it's like he only gets when he gets it, but man, maybe he's just had no spots come up. But he's got 28 attempts in the last year.
Yeah, because they've used Rashad Penny. The moment Penny went down, they used Kenneth Walker. Like those guys are better than Travis Homer.
Yeah,
I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
But he is their pass catching back as well. So you might actually see a few more receptions from him than you normally would see from a DJ Dallas or Ken Walker when he was the starter. That's how they primarily used him.
I'm going to probably really regret it this week. I'll have some Amon-Ra, don't get me wrong, but because I'm game stacking that spot, again, I'm playing both sides. Like I'm not playing very many quarterbacks this week from the early look here, but in this game, if you just take that game stack and change Amon-Ra down, like I would, man.
Let's try that then.
I know he's much more money, but don't you just want Jefferson in this spot over if you had to pick one, Amon-Ra or Jefferson? I know it's more expensive, so it would make sense.
I would weirdly rather use Amon-Ra.
Yeah, see, I really want Jefferson.
Okay, so let's get rid of Amon-Ra and let's do Jefferson. That means we can take Thielen out. So just making that straight swap, we have $4,100 left. I'm going to get rid of DJ Moore. I'm going to get rid of Travis Homer and Zay Jones and Derrick Henry. So now our stack is Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson. So who do we use as the bring back? Do we use Jameson Williams or do we use DJ Chark?
Put Williams, and then if you need the $100, we just drop to Chark.
Okay, so Jameson Williams, $4,400. Now we have $5,000 per player.
Trying to look at it like to still keep Derrick Henry. If you got Derrick Henry and Justin Jefferson in the same build and it still makes sense.
Let's see. You could go Henry, Kirk. You have 3,600 without a defense. Let's use Broncos D, which probably gets us to Latavius Murray again. And now we have $3,400 for a flex. You can use your boy Terrace Marshall or Laviska Shenault, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that'd be all right. Denver D in
that
that
Or Josh Reynolds to really double down on this game. I believe he's 3,400.
I forgot about him. Yeah. I was just trying to see here. If you go Latavius Murray, what about our guy Foreman?
I would love to use Foreman.
All right, I think I got it.
Okay.
This is well, we didn't talk about it heavily, but this looks really good. Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson. Run it back with Jameson Williams or Chark, because the lineup will get you there.
Okay.
Henry, Latavius Murray, Zay Jones as the run back for Henry lands you on the Carolina D with Foreman.
Really?
Yeah. That's a nice lineup.
Let's see. Foreman.
So it's Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson,
Carolina.
Williams.
That gives us, we need $4,700. You say Zay Jones is in that too?
Yeah, it's Cousins,
yeah,
Jefferson.
It's exactly Zay Jones, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's not bad, actually.
It's decent. And if you could do this, if you want to drop Williams down to Chark,
you could get Broncos D instead of Panthers D.
And you could just double down on the setup that we were talking about there, like where you can play the D with the running back, Foreman with Carolina in one with Jameson Williams, or Latavius with Denver and Chark in the other, and you've got pretty good lineups to start off with. You can mess around with them, but I think that's, again, I don't love Zay Jones. I'm just saying the sacrifice, Zay Jones, the sacrifice is you get Henry, Latavius, Jefferson, Hawkinson, Cousins, Foreman, and then you get the run back that's Chark, who almost was beating Amon-Ra last week until he wasn't and then got crushed. That happens sometimes, but still, would you be mad of 5 for 98 at $4,300?
No, God,
to get
no.
all this other stuff into your lineup? That's where I'm saying I could see builds like this working no problem. Where
can I throw it out that I don't like these lineups? I don't like this game.
So what do you like? Let's move to that game.
Let's go to that game.
Which is
GENO triple.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say Joe Burrow.
GENO triple, which has won me all, like, my best weeks so far this year have been GENO, Lockett, Metcalf.
Yeah, they just continue to go off, too.
And those are the only, Homer could go off in this game, just like Walker has been going off in some of these games.
We'll do the exercise we did 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't here last week, but I've got the projection points up.
But, we went through, the best lineup that I had last week, I think it was, 197, was the GENO triple, with no bring back with the Rams. But this week, we actually have Foreman or DJ Moore we can actually run it back with.
I wanted to do DJ Moore for the first example because you and I talked about this concept on a previous show where we did it, some strategy in the early season as well, but where when you go Lockett, Metcalf, Moore, you just used all game. You have a flex. We can still get another receiver in here. I'm not saying that, but we cannot get Jefferson Amon-Ra. We cannot get Thielen Amon-Ra. We cannot get Amon-Ra Garrett Wilson. You're off.
You can get Garrett Wilson.
You can get one of those guys. You can still get Amon-Ra if you wanted him. I'm just saying that's the point of how it sets up. Probably not based on how much these guys all cost together, but I'm just saying I like this concept better than Foreman because now we still have 2 running backs to fill.
So we go GENO, Metcalf, Lockett, Moore, Jets D.
Or do we want to just start with running back and leave the D and go with Latavius again? Or what do you want to do?
No, let's just throw in Jets D because I really like Jets D.
Okay.
I think they're going to be good this week. Or Browns D if that's the way you want to go.
I like the Jets.
That gives us 2 running backs. And here's the difference between this lineup and here's why I don't like the Vikings stack. Because it's not that I don't like Hawkinson. I just don't want to pay that much for a tight end. That's TJ. I don't want to pay $5,100 for TJ Hawkinson. I really don't.
Yeah, but is that also a product of what just happened last week and a bunch of weeks this season?
No, but
tight end sucks. The floor is horrible for all of them. Last week, if your tight end got 10, you were laughing. My thought is the revenge game is a narrative. Who cares?
Sure.
It's Detroit is the matchup in the dome. The guy might get 10 targets.
That's
going to rack him up.
Throw out his 42-point game where you needed him. earlier this year. Like, since he's been to the Vikings, he's been PPR good, but 11 points, 8 points, 15.7 points. Like, that's not doing it for me.
Yeah, but
even the 15 points for 5,000 when I could maybe get 8 out of a $3,100 tight end, and then I could actually pay up at running back.
My argument is, though, the Dulcich conversation of, well, look at him. Last week he got you 14. Just go to him again. Before that, he's 3.72.
Sure,
Hawkinson ain't getting you a 3.7 or 2.
No, but how much is Dulcich is $3,400? What's the difference between James Cook and Zeke?
Well, I'm saying more so that Terrace Marshall or a guy like Chenault can cook for 25 in a spot that Dulcich just ain't doing it. They can. They can. It's just a known fact that you're gonna have these cheaper wide receivers go off way more than cheaper tight ends.
What? Okay.
We just use cheap tight ends because it's a onesie position. You have to fill it out.
This is what I actually had a lot of success with this last week as a mini stack because I ended up just mini stacking the Detroit-Jacksonville game, and it was Amon-Ra, Evan Ingram. And that saved me so much money.
Yeah, Evan Ingram's massive 14 crushed the slate.
Yeah, but you can do that again this week. Go Henry, Evan Ingram, and you have a $3,300 tight end.
Yeah, I've got no problem with that.
And now you have
that's what I'm saying.
You have $5,500 for a running back and a flex.
So let's do that, Henry. And then we got $5,500 left. So who do we want here?
So we can have a running back.
Let's just see what Latavius does for fun. $5,800. DeAndre Swift. Like I said, I only really want to use him in the
No,
stacks.
I think, is there anyone in like the upper fours that we like? I guess is the question. Because if there is, then we can get that next level of running back or receiver if we wanted to. That like low $6,000 range. Because if there's a receiver that we like, we can use them as the flex and then get a bit more up at running back. I mean, this could be a nice spot, although it's against Jets D. James Cook actually fits into this one really nicely.
Damn, I'm $100 away from Latavius.
Well, couldn't you just drop? You could drop down Jets to Broncos D.
I was trying to do double down. I was trying to get Zeke. Well, one thing I will note too, like this is just to me again another thing I'm looking at this week. We didn't talk a lot about.
I mean, we don't need to use Henry, by the way.
No, I like that setup you had there. We can look at another one in a second. We can flip it. But I was going to say this is how do we avoid Dallas guys? Like their total is legit, and I believe they're going to get to 31 points, and I believe it's going to not just be from their defense like Cleveland did last week against them. So I'd kind of want to get someone like that.
Our flex is Michael Gallup at $4,600. Now we have $6,400 for a running back.
I like this one to look at what it looks like if we put Zeke in. I liked your call. Like if he gets us 8 for 89 and 2 touchdowns, that's damn good for 6,100
for
Zeke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just using that. Like forget Gallup for a second. Go back up to it. Maybe we take Ingram and Henry out for a second. Maybe we can still keep him in. Let me just see what that does.
Okay, let's see what Elliott does for us at 61. We have 4,900. Now we've already used Ingram, so the Zay Jones call is kind of out the window at this point. You have like Donovan Peoples-Jones against Cincinnati. I mean, guy continues to score points every single week.
Deontay Johnson's 5,100. Travis Homer's 5,000.
Yeah, we already have this entire, like, we're just going to do Seattle onslaught.
No, we don't want that. No, man.
Yeah, but we have 4,900 with Jets D, right?
Yeah.
We could go, like, if you wanted to do flex D, you could drop to Latavius Murray and Broncos D. That works.
Let's see.
Murray, 52. Defense.
I'm $100 off.
Yeah, you can only get to Panthers D, which sucks.
That's annoying.
It sucks with the stack that we have going on. But you say Deontay Johnson, you could go Broncos D, Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
Like that works.
See, but then do you like this lineup better than the other? I've got it.
I just like it because I like the GENO, Metcalf, Lockett more part. I'm not saying that it has higher upside than the other ones. It just feels like this one goes wrong less frequently than the other one because I know where the ball is going in the passing game.
Right.
For the Seahawks, I know it's going to Amon-Ra on the Lions side. After that, I don't have a fucking clue who it's going to.
Yeah.
And on the Vikings side, yeah, I know it's going to Jefferson, but Jefferson's so expensive. And if it's then like Hawkinson and Thielen, like you're hoping for that game that we saw on Thanksgiving, which is tough. Like they don't really do that all that often. What happens if it's a Alexander Madison rushing touchdown? Then you're fucked.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, if that happens, you're done. That was last week too. They did that. They had Cook going early. Everyone there thought it was Cook in for another because he actually got played by some people. I was like, no, that's Madison. Like, oh shit. What?
Yeah, you could do Peoples-Jones. I mean, is there anyone in the low 4,000s that you do like? Because you could do.
I was just trying to convert the lineup now to Foreman over Moore. Like if you played Foreman.
Oh, it becomes a lot easier if you do Foreman over Moore. By the way,
open up the other spot. That's what I'm trying to do here to see.
We could go flex Foreman. with Jets D.
And well, I'm trying to keep it still. Yeah, with I was looking at it with Denver D and with Latavius because it lands you on Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra.
How does that work?
So if you go Geno, Metcalf, Lockett,
Yeah.
run it back with Foreman, keep Zeke. So you got Zeke, Foreman, Latavius Murray.
I see what you're doing.
Again, you still have to have Ingram in there. There's lots of swappable pieces.
Yeah, but
I was just more so saying.
I kept it in Geno, Metcalf, Lockett with Foreman,
Yeah.
Henry and Ingram,
So off Zeke.
and Broncos, and I got $5,200, which gets for a receiver that gets me to like Slayton, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Boyd, George Pickens, that range. I feel like that little mini tier is way better than the Thielen and Peoples-Jones type tier.
Yeah,
which is where we were at before.
We land on the same $5,200, right?
Yeah.
That we had before.
But I can only have a receiver based on my construction because I have Elliott, Henry, and Foreman.
It just lands on Deontay again. Is Deontay just going to break the slate for us, and we're going to have him be happy? Because
that's easy stuff. Deontay Johnson he's going to regress all of his touchdowns in one game. He's going to have 6 of them.
It's
in his toughest matchup of the year.
He's definitely. Dude, do you like Ingram or Dulcich better if you had to pick one?
I think I like Ingram better.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know if it'd be chasing Dulcich. Like I said,
it's not that you're chasing. I think that you're getting what you're getting from him. And maybe,
now the other question,
maybe he'll have his 4 for 89.
But
Sutton
doubtful.
No, I get it. He's going to run more routes, but Sutton left the game last week. Yeah. And that's why he had the bigger game. But I don't know. There's one of the Jacksonville guys who seems to get left out every single week. Like last week, it was Zay Jones because he couldn't catch the fucking ball for some reason after having glue hands. He was the guy from Little Giants the week before. Yeah. Couldn't drop anything. And then like Kirk is going to have his big game, but Ingram just seems to be kind of locked in for his 6 targets. What's he going to do with them? Who knows? But if he's used in the red zone, that feels good enough for me at $3,300. Like it's such a cheap way to get that access.
Well, you know what we didn't talk about that ties into that is the Houston side, because what is it? It's going to be Moore, Dorsett, and Jordan Akins. Like,
are we sure that Collins and Cooks are out?
Sounds like it.
It sounds like Cooks is out.
Sounds like Cooks is done. Collins not at practice again today on Friday. Still doubtful. So still questionable. Sorry, but Cooks more doubtful. But it does seem like he's going to be out. The only reason I brought up Jordan Akins last week, we were watching him at the live final.
Akins was pretty good.
They were setting it up for, like, these were definitely designed to get to, play calls for him. And in the last 4 games, he's had 10, 5, and 16 in the mix. And he's pretty cheap, and you could run him across from Zeke that we talked about, right?
Okay, so let's try to rebuild this then. Let's do this.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
So let's go back to the Geno builds, and we'll take out Ingram, and we'll put in Akins.
This projects the same. I already got one.
And he's $2,800. That gives me an extra $600 to play with if I want to. So,
which puts you up to, I can get to Garrett Wilson now.
I can get to Garrett Wilson as my last receiver. No, I can't.
Yeah, you can if you drop the Jets D to Denver to match Latavius.
No, I'm at Denver, but I still have Foreman in. So yeah, if I drop Foreman to Latavius, I can get up to.
I'll read you what I got: Geno, Lockett, Metcalf.
But now I don't have DJ Moore.
Oh, I got no run back.
I have no run back.
So but now we could probably change it. Change Garrett Wilson. I landed on Garrett Wilson, thought it looked good, but I didn't have.
So we can go DJ Moore.
Now I want to go back to Moore.
Get rid of Foreman. Go to Murray. I still have $400 left over. We don't have to use Broncos D, by the way.
No, that's true.
So now we can get back up to Browns or Jets if we really wanted to in this lineup.
Ooh, you can get what you like, Pat. Big old game stack here. We go to the Jets D for $2,500. And you land on $5,400, and now you've got Deontay Foreman, so you got a 3-2.
Oh, you want to do the 3-2?
Yeah, why not?
All right, I'm in. You don't have to sell me on it.
It projects like 5 points less than what we've been looking at, but the point being, you like it, and obviously when you build the 5-mans like that, like you like, is that if the game goes off, like we talked about last week.
That's what I'm banking on.
That's what you're hoping for anyway. If you want Lockett and Metcalf to get there, you definitely want to hope that the game is at least somewhat set up for that to happen. Like last week was 27-23, and guys got there from both sides. Akers would be your Foreman from last week, and I forget what the receivers did last week in that game, but when Geno, Lockett, Metcalf all got there, I think Lockett, Metcalf both had over 120 yards. Metcalf had like 27, or Geno had like 27. Akers crushed for the Rams. That would now be Foreman. And was there a receiver for the Rams last week that did good? But they're not DJ Moore.
No, and it's pretty concentrated. When Sam Darnold plays, DJ Moore gets 46% of the targets or something crazy like that.
Yeah, and we like the Jets D, and we're not playing any Buffalo guys. We like Akins, who we just talked about, across from Zeke, where you got Zeke doing the work, and Akins just gets those targets for $2,800. He's cheap, gets a touchdown, great, and then it lands you on Derrick Henry.
So let's do this again. Keep Akins in.
Okay.
I want to get rid of Foreman, and we'll keep DJ Moore. We'll get rid of Jets D. Let's get rid of Henry.
All right.
And Elliott.
So
we have Akins locked in as $2,800 for us, and the same triple with DJ Moore on the bring back. What if we don't use Derrick Henry? Because Derrick Henry's sucking up a lot of our ownership here.
One thing I was going to say about that, and we've talked more about this past, and we didn't talk about it enough today probably, but is the elephant in the room, I guess, at least somewhat, is that Burrow only went up $100. He's in a fantastic spot.
We can build a Burrow.
No, we will. I'm saying, but you should be thinking like this in your tournament lives, where if we're not using Burrow, we should be using Mixon. Where are those points coming from? And we're using Henry just because Henry looks good and it's December. But you can save $1,000 and use the guy that actually leverages the other lineups in the tournament by using Mixon. When their Burrow stacks die to our GENO stacks, we crush. And it's Mixon that does the work. And good news, if Mixon's not in, P. Ryan's an even better option. So you're not hurting yourself by starting a lineup right now, today when you're listening, by using Mixon. So I like this better. So let's go with Mixon.
Okay, so here's the lineup.
All right, you already got it. Let's go.
I bet you'll project out well because it has Zay Jones in it.
Okay.
So GENO, Metcalf, Lockett, DJ Moore, Akins at tight end, Jets D, Mixon and Chubb with Zay Jones.
Chubb?
You don't need Chubb. I just thought it was funny that
then Zay Jones.
You could reasonably afford Mixon and Chubb in this lineup. It's probably better to change Jones to Amari Cooper, and then you can use Chubb as like Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, this doesn't project as well.
No,
but,
of course not. It's just funny.
No, it's good. I was just saying, but like realistically, then why are we not just going back to we literally can now what you said is forget about going away from Henry.
You could use Henry and Mixon.
You just add him in, and you've got the secondary with Zay, who we already liked on other lineups. Now you land on Denver D instead at 2,300,
and you don't have to use Latavius Murray.
And you're not using, and at 2,300, the other thing about Denver here is you're not using like a Kelsey or someone, so you're fine using that. And you can't use Carolina D because you've got 3 Seattle guys you're going against. So it's just the natural landing point. It projects only 3 less than the original Minnesota-Detroit ones we built. Makes perfect sense. Has 2 amazing running backs in Mixon and Henry. No third running back like some other lineups will. Secondary stack on top of a 3-1 like this to me, and leverages it with the other. That's with Akins in there too, by the way. Like, I don't know if there was another option, but...
No, I don't think there's another pay down option like that. Let's see, 2,900 is the most I can have to spend right now at tight end.
Austin Hooper? No.
We
already got Tennessee in the lineup.
If Njoku sits again, I can just dream of my 3 points from Harrison Bryant.
Is there any other running backs higher? No, Derrick Henry, 49.
You could get to Barkley in this lineup. Instead of Henry, you could use Barkley. That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, I don't want that. So this is a fine line. Like I said, it's only 3 off the original one that we built.
And I'll guarantee you, far less ownership on this line.
Oh, way, way less. And it's also in a unique way of, like I said, it actually does leverage a spot with Cincy. And on top of that, I mean, there's no Dallas here would be the only thing. So what if we take Henry out for Zeke and we just say we're going to leverage up both those games?
You could, or you could just switch Zay Jones to Michael Gallup.
Yeah,
not that I like Gallup.
I only want to use Gallup this week if I'm playing Dak, which we can talk about. Not saying we're going to build one out. If you want to, we could. But my point being there, everyone just expects them to slam it down their throat with the running backs.
Maybe they come out
Didn't
firing.
we just have a spot like this where that's what everyone expected, and then Dak came out and went for 30? I thought we had – I can look it up here in a second. I was going to stay on this build because I do like it for a minute. But who did Dak just have a big game against? Let me look.
It was Minnesota, wasn't it?
Chicago Bears. I guess he went through the air to Pollard in that one too, so that's why. It was that game, but Pollard still really got there. But not to say you can't use that again, right? You could go Dak, Pollard, whoever. Just real quick, if we go off that, let's take Zay Jones.
So let's take Henry out and put in Elliott.
Yeah.
Or we can put in Pollard. Like, who cares? It's just Elliott's cheaper.
Yeah, let's put in Pollard then.
What if we just use both of them? Because if we take out Henry and Zay Jones, I think it's the same price as Elliott and Pollard.
What happens if we go to Pollard?
That's not. It's $100 off of Pollard.
Oh, but now you can get Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I could still have it. Oh, if you use Pollard?
You can go GENO, Metcalf, Lockett, run it back with DJ Moore, secondary stack of Pollard with Akins, and then you just fit in Denver D,
And
mix
Garrett
in
Wilson.
leverage, and Garrett Wilson best play, like if you're a good play, $5,900 based on.
One thing that we're not doing, and that I know that people will get mad at us about, is like we're using all these early guys in our flex. It's just making it easier for us to build these as we talk about
Yeah,
them.
your
Just switch
optimizer
out-
should do it anyway. If you're,
switch out DJ Moore in Garrett Wilson's spot and make it easier.
if you're
on
hand
yourself.
building, fix it. Obviously, I'm saying we're just it's gonna fix it on itself and optimizers and stuff when you have them. So we're just looking at it to build it out. But yeah, do you want to build a? Well, who else did you want to build? You want to build Cincinnati?
I want to build a Burrow, yeah.
Yeah, you got to build a Burrow.
Or do you go back to Watson?
God, think of whatever. We'll build these, and if you want to swap it to Watson, go ahead.
I don't, unless you get points for like ankle throws.
I don't know, man. That was a bad.
He looks so
first
bad.
outing. It looked horrible.
Maybe he's all back. He shook off the rust. He's all good now.
Got a nice massage.
Yeah.
It's all set. Or
I
multiples?
had a nice massage yesterday. Not a Deshaun Watson massage, but like I feel good today.
I had an interesting massage at King of the Beach. We talked about this on the review show because both Phallic and myself happened to get the same masseuse.
Was he being phallic as a part of the massage?
It was very glutes focused. Let's say that.
That's what I got yesterday.
Yeah, she
I
said-
got IT band, glutes, and hips. And you're someone who sits primarily.
That's maybe why I felt so good. That's maybe what it was. Got it set up from that. I was supposed to go on a catamaran cruise. It got canceled. Get to go to the massage. I was like, sure, this is great. Get that. I was like, ooh, that's kind of interesting. And I asked her about Deshaun Watson. And she said, no, that's only happened to me 3 times or so. She's like, those all got taken care of. I was like, what? So I guess it's more common than we thought. So
Jesus.
yeah. Maybe that was a sign that I should not play him in my other King of the Beach lineup. But, could have went the other way. Let's build Burrow. What do we got?
Do we go Burrow, Chase, Higgins, Burrow, Higgins, Boyd?
Burrow, Chase, Higgins. Let's go
That
all the way.
Wilcox dude?
I don't know, man. Burrow, Chase, Higgins is too expensive, I think.
It's very expensive.
Look, I just put those 3 in, and I'm already down to 4,600.
Like,
so.
would you rather go Chase Boyd, Higgins Boyd, Chase Wilcox? Like, do you like Wilcox or Boyd better for the price?
Wilcox, probably.
Willie Wilcox?
Yeah.
The golfer?
Look, I'd rather waste tight end off anyway by doing it this way. And I think we want Chase. We want to get as close to Jefferson's ceiling as we can and just say it's a Chase game, and he goes back to his old trusty number 1.
So Wilcox is 2,700. Who do we bring this back with? I'm going to say Chubb. I know you're going to say Cooper. I think it's Chubb. Like this game,
I'm going to say Cooper.
This game isn't competitive unless Chubb goes off. And I think this game is competitive. I like the Browns in this game.
78, but it's worse than had we have just put Higgins in there.
Is it?
Higgins is $7,000 and Chubb is $7,800.
But we've spent
you
the
got one from each
$2,700
side,
on
I guess.
Wilcox.
Yeah,
So
you
okay,
saved from that.
Let's use Cooper then.
Yeah, I like it. I think again, if it goes off anyway, I think it sort of has to be pushed somewhat, and he's only 6,200.
Here's the issue. I don't like this game. I like the under in this game. I don't think that there's a lot of points in this game. There's a reason for whatever reason. I mean, Cam brought up the stat on the Best Bet show this week that Kevin Stefanski 8-0 against cat teams straight up in his career. That's always nice.
Okay.
Burrow has yet to beat the Browns in his career, which is kind of insane to think about. There's been some high-scoring games in those games, but cold Cincinnati, I think they're going to try to run as much as possible, both sides, and for whatever reason, this Browns defensive line harasses Burrow every single time out.
Yeah, Chase didn't play last time between them, did he? That was one thing I just noticed. I forgot about that. Chase didn't play in this game. The first matchup when Cleveland won 32-13. So, interesting note. But I think if we're building it still, if you look at Amari Cooper, 4 games over 26 this season, again, like...
You'd have to hope it's one of those games.
You just have to hope it's one of those spots. And it was this game. He got 26 against them last time. So I'm just saying from building it out, we'll see. I'm just more curious to see what it projects as. We can do like a quick version of it. What's the guys that we said already, like the Henry, Zay Jones?
Is that do we want to? Yeah, I guess we're using Wilcox, so we can't go Henry Ingram. So we go Henry.
Well, the argument on Henry, I guess, I know it's the price thing we just talked about. We'll just do it to see what it comes out as. But the argument on Henry would be you're not using Chubb, so you use the guy that's $100 more with similar upside in the same matchup. Like, because some people stacking this game will have Chubb there.
So here's the quick lineup that I came up with. Burrow, Henry, Foreman, Chase, Cooper, Zay Jones, Wilcox, Garrett Wilson is the flex, Panthers D.
And that works, yeah.
That's $100 left on the table if you wanted to go up to
No,
one.
that's good. That's what I want to see what it comes out to. Wow.
Is that our highest projected one yet?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah, maybe it's better to build lineups in 3 seconds.
That's just funny that it worked out that way, but it is all good plays. It's correlated. Like I said, what's the hole in this? Like, what are you worried about? So Burrow,
I'm just worried about Cooper scoring 2 points.
2 points or 22 points?
Well, I mean, I'm worried about him scoring either 222 points or negative 2 points.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him scoring 2 points. I'm worried if he only scores 2 points.
I'm also worried about like this Wilcox dude who I couldn't pick out of a lineup of 1 scores 0 points.
For sure. That's one of the things to it, a definite factor. But yeah, I guess other than that.
In that lineup, you could it's funny, you could rebuild that if you want to and just make one change. And it might actually make me, it's not as it's equally as correlated. It's just not as big on that same game stack with what I have left over. Because you have Panthers and Donta Foreman. You have Burrow with Chase and Cooper. Let's take Willie Wilcox out, and we can use our boy Akins again. He fits into that.
It actually projects better because he does project better.
Yeah, and you have him with Henry. Or him with, you don't have the Dallas guy is the problem.
Let me do something just 2 seconds.
So it's not as correlated.
I want to try and make Pat feel better about his setup here. Let me just see if I can get it. I think I can. I just thought of numbers in my head, and it should be close. All right, receiver, 6,400. How much is Boyd?
52, I think.
Okay, let's skip that idea. I got a better plan. Him, 5,200?
I think he's $5,200.
Oh, God.
I mean, I can effort this for you right now.
No, I got it. It's Deontay. And you can edit it from there. My point being, if you want to take it down, this
Boyd is only 5,000, by the way. He's cheaper than Deontay.
I can't find what I want the other way from it, but yeah, I can actually. Just 1 second then. So if we go Boyd, we could do it. But I think I don't know if you're going to love the other side of it, but the point being is basically you can go Burrow, Boyd, Wilcox, and then get Chubb, and then you still have Henry with the Zay Jones play. You have Foreman with a guy like Metcalf who fits in there, and then you land on the Jets D. And so it's like you get all your running backs that you wanted. You don't have your Cooper in there, but now remember, you don't have your Jamar Chase in there either.
Yeah.
You've gone to Boyd, Wilcox. I think it's pushing it. It doesn't project nearly as well. So just to give an idea, like you can get to what you want, but then that's where I'm saying I prefer the $100 more and the wide receiver spot being used on Chase than I do Chubb in the flex, is what I'm saying.
Last ones. I don't want to do a single. I mean, I think we've built out the ones that we want to build out. Goff, Cousins, Burrow, Geno. Those are probably. Is there any like sneaky quarterback stack that you like going to? Let's build out the Dak one, actually. Just say, hey, and you can play Pollard in that lineup if you want to. So
yeah, do you want to do it with like Lamb and Gallup though first?
I want to do it with Lamb and Schultz, but
or yeah, let's do that. That's fine with me too. You just been mentioning Gallup
Lamb,
all day, so
the thing is now I guarantee you in this lineup I'm forced to play double tight end.
No, you could play. I would play Chris Moore, 3,400
rather than Akins.
I want Akins, but that's why I said, do you want to go Gallup Akins for the experiment?
So do you want to go more? I'll go Gallup Akins. I'm fine with that.
Let's do that. Well, what do you like? Here's an example. What do you like better, Schultz and Chris Moore, or Gallup and Akins? We like Akins, and Gallup is someone you mentioned like 6 times.
Or we could do. I mean, I only mentioned Gallup. Like I don't objectively like Gallup this week.
It's a sign, though.
Yeah, but you kept saying like, hey, we're in the Zay Jones range, and you don't love Zay Jones. You want access to the Cowboys game. He is the Cowboy.
Neither of us love Zay Jones ever usually, so he's always the guy that's.
Hey, the last time I shit talked Zay Jones, I think he had 41 DraftKings points.
And I think it happened to it wasn't 41, but Rondale Moore. We've shit talked him a bunch, but the time you actually were like, this guy does nothing, and then the next fight that week he finally has a good week out of the slot. So
you
let's do this.
You can go Dak, Lamb, Schultz, or you could go like Dak, Lamb, Pollard, Akins.
I like just Dak, Lamb, Gallup, Akins.
All right, so let's do
Gallup
that.
Is 4,600. Put up 18 just last week.
I know he did.
My point is, let's just say they go through the air fully. You could put Pollard into it, but let's just go with this for now.
We should just build this as like first half showdown lineup.
Yeah,
because all these points are coming in the first half, except for Akins.
Early only slate shippers. Yeah. What
first half only early slate. So that gives us $5,800 per player.
Okay, let's do this right this time. Let's go to Mixon first. We want access to Cincinnati. We don't have to run it back. I'm just saying let's start with a Mixon play.
I mean, theoretically, we could also play Amon-Ra in this lineup too if we wanted to.
Let's see if we land there.
So
do you like Foreman in the Carolina D? Do you like
do.
Latavius in the Denver D? What do you prefer?
Here's the thing. I like the Denver D better than Carolina D, but I much prefer Foreman.
I also think because we're going against your Geno stack here, or at least what we like on the week, it's okay to go with Foreman and just put the Carolina D in and call it a day and say, look, we're not on Geno stacks here, so why not play against Geno stacks here?
I believe this works out that we can use Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson if we wanted to.
And with money left over if you wanted to. Yeah.
I don't think it's money left over. I think it's exactly on the money.
No.
Let's see. Amon-Ra.
It leaves me 6,300 from my end.
Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Oh, baby.
P-Ryan.
Amari Cooper, wide receiver in the flex. Oppo Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Projects for 3 points less than our Minnesota-Detroit lineups.
If you threw Garrett Wilson instead of Amari Cooper into there, it's not corollary. I guarantee you it projects better.
Yeah, it definitely does. I prefer to go off the board there on that spot, though.
But you could, at that point, take Amon-Ra up to Henry if you wanted to. You could just put Wilson into that spot, go to Henry, or use Amon-Ra.
Yeah, and surprisingly, too, don't forget. So it actually doesn't project better, but that's because one guy is 5,900 and one is 6,200. But Amari Cooper projects really well this week, still in the spot.
All right, there we go.
So just to use that. But yeah, to your Garrett Wilson point, leaves you 8,200.
You could use Barkley. You could use Chubb. You could
the
use
flex. You could use Henry and get up to the Jets D.
If you wanted to, yeah.
I kind of like the Jets D call, to be honest, man.
I don't think it's going to be super popular, and I think that it has good upside. Paul's a Bills fan. He knows what can happen in these games. Like, if the Jets are going to keep this competitive, I think, with the Bills, it's either going to be a 10-3 type game, or the Jets are probably going to score a defensive touchdown at some point, have some stupid turnover.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I have no problem with it. As again, everybody looks at it, says, can't go there. Denver D last week, Lamar Jackson, even without the injury, man, he was still giving it up. He gives up sacks. They make mistakes. And Josh Allen has been making a lot of mistakes lately, so.
Okay, so we've built out 5 of them. I think that's pretty good. The only other one that I wanted to try was Hurts. Because we haven't talked about any Eagles yet. Be it Miles Sanders or however you want to do that. I don't want to build out that one, but do you like Hurts at all this week?
No.
No? Okay.
And the reason is, I've talked about this plenty in the past, but he falls into the same bucket as Mahomes, where
he's hard to line up.
I mean, you have to just do it. Like, when you do Mahomes, Kelsey, just do that. When you do Jalen Hurts, basically just do A.J. Brown, I guess. Like, last week, I know some were doing the double stack or talking about. Where did those actually show up that I saw? Like, I don't know. There was.
Well, they're so costly.
It's so expensive, and then you need everything else to go right. I'm sure it was. I didn't even look, because it was traveling back Monday, what the actual optimal was for the week, and I'm sure A.J. Brown was in it based on his score, but I'm not sure how the rest shook out. Like, you know what I mean? Mike White still put up a huge point per dollar that would allow you to fit A.J. Brown with some other guys that made sense and popped off. So I don't know. I just prefer all those stacks we build, and that's why it's so critical when you look at it. Like, yeah, we know these guys are going to probably crush, but are you going to be able to crush in all those other spots and get it correct in all those other spots? And that's why you see the winning lineups of tournaments look a lot like we would expect based on how we build out, because it's what fit. It was the condensed stacking of the ownership and things and all that are mixed in, where that's why it looks like a cash game lineup. No, it looks like a lineup that makes sense and actually fits and works, and I can get it to correlate so it could actually happen and become the winner versus the rest of the field.
So no Hurts. Any Josh Allen?
Have more interest there. Haven't looked at it, but honestly, it's probably
super expensive.
Yeah, he's expensive, but
I think you go single stack with Josh Allen. Hope he scores rushing touchdowns.
And I think
unless you want to use Josh Allen, James Cook, Garrett Wilson.
I was kind of looking at it earlier. I don't think I have it up here, but anyway. But I was looking at with Gabe Davis.
Okay.
Single stack.
How about Mahomes?
No,
Mahomes?
No, never Mahomes.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked about that.
Lawrence against Tennessee.
What's his situation? He's still going to play?
Yeah, I think Lawrence is going to play. If not, you get Beathard.
I'd have more interested in that, I think.
Beat hard.
Beat hard.
I don't even see. Where is Beathard?
5,000?
C.
J. B-E-A?
B-E-A. He's not popping up for me here. Where the hell is Beathard? Oh, there he is. 4,800. Like, Brock Purdy's 5,100. I think this week the Buccaneers offense finally breaks out.
Tennessee is so bad that I would actually consider the Jacksonville spot there. I actually don't hate. I haven't looked at it enough to hate on Lawrence yet, and we'd have a flop leg spot. He only put up 16 last week, injury-wise and everything, had stuff going on, but still, the matchup's good, and we like Henry. If Henry does his job.
Pickett or Huntley, they're both cheap.
Yeah, that game, like we said, I mean, it's 36-point total, division game in Pittsburgh, ugly, but you could see a 2-1 work, or just a Huntley Andrews, leave it, fill in all the plays. No one's playing Huntley or Andrews, and if they do go off again together, that's all you need. So again, it's more of a high dollar, smaller field type thing, but
Mike White, Garrett Wilson,
continue to run it if you want.
Seems iffier this week, but I do really think he's going to throw 50-plus times.
He does. He throws a bunch.
Like he might throw 4 picks, but he's going to get to his 300 yards passing.
That's why I like what I was looking at, Pat, was Josh Allen with Gabe Davis. run it back with Garrett Wilson, done. Could you do that?
Could I do that?
It's 5,000 average left. But so let's say you take that out. Let's go back to your Mike White thought for a second.
Oh my God! Something just popped into my mind here. This is sickening to think.
Was it
about.
Mike White with Tyler Conklin?
It's not. It's Sam Darnold with DJ Moore with a Travis Homer run back. If it's just Homer, you just hope that's how all the points are scored in this game.
I want the guy that's actually going to throw it a million times, like you said. What was Conklin's work like last week? All the snaps against 7
dropped
targets,
like
just did
4
nothing.
passes.
I like Mike White, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, and then run it back with Gabe Davis. Hope that Sauce wants to tie up with Diggs for
last time
some
it
of
was Sauce on Gabe Davis.
Yeah.
After Diggs burned Sauce on the first play of the game, they just moved him over to the other side so we didn't look bad.
Don't want to make him look bad anymore. Exactly.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, Travis Homer, DJ Moore, Jets D. You have $6,300 per player.
You can do whatever you want. This one, I got 6,000 left with White, Wilson, Conklin, Davis. That's a lot of money, and I feel like that spot, the back and forth of it. And here's the thing. Buffalo are 10-point favorites at home, but...
What if you just use Diggs instead of Davis? You still have $5,500 left.
Do you like Diggs?
I like Diggs more than I like Gabe Davis. Did you see the Gabe Davis stats this year?
I know what they are.
They're not good.
It's 8,300 for Diggs, I guess.
I understand that. Listen, I like other $8,300 players more, but I do think this is a spot where you catch Diggs with relatively no ownership.
All right, I'm building it now.
Or maybe you use James Cook. This is your James Cook lineup. He's your bill.
Our quick version that we always say is Mixon, Carolina,
Foreman.
Leaves me $6,350 for a wide receiver and a flex. Who's my guy?
Pollard.
Yeah, let's get a Dallas guy in there. That's a great call.
Actually, you could use Zeke and like Christian Kirk if you wanted to.
Zeke and 6,600. Who's 6,600?
No one.
Yeah, Christian Kirk.
Is it Christian Kirk?
Yeah.
There you go.
And so that is what? 600. So Zeke.
I mean, I know you're using Panthers D. You could also play Lockett in that lineup as opposed to Foreman.
I like the Zeke call. I want to get him in there with Mixon. I'm trying to get pieces of those games.
You could actually go...
Doesn't project well because it's Mike White, but that's a good lineup.
But you know what? I just dropped Panthers D. I took out Kirk. I put in Tyler Lockett. So now I have Foreman and Lockett going back and forth. Panthers D up to Broncos D.
So if you go Foreman, Lockett, and you have 2,300 left?
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Like, that's what I'm saying. These ones won't project as well. They're about 5 points less than the original Minnesota-Detroit, but... It literally makes perfect sense. Mike White, Wilson, Conklin. You want who cares about Conklin? He's cheap and he's in with the quarterback. So if he ties up that setup, you're in good shape. You're running it back on the other side with Diggs, and you have Lockett, Foreman, Zeke, and Mixon for the Cincy Dallas spot to pick up those points, and you've got the Denver D, who we liked anyway throughout. Just shows me through all these exercises here, Pat, that no one's paying up a defense this week, really. I mean, Dallas will get some, of course, but in general, from what we can see from this exercise, I know it's just how we do it. People say, oh, we're in a bubble and all that. Everyone's building in at least some sort of similar stance to this, where it gets very easy to land on 2,500 or less for defense, and people are comfortable with it. So I see that being pretty popular. Pittsburgh's 2,600.
All right, 3 weeks of giveaways, $2,000 to give away, thanks to Toe Tag and Tambo. Reminder again, follow them on Twitter at Toe Tag and Tambo. We'll release this, and maybe I'll put all of the requirements down in the description, something like that, or maybe I'll get Matt Best to do like a link tree page where you can just click on one thing and here's all the things that you can do. Make it easy on yourself.
Whoever wants to do them all and get more ballots, get a better chance of winning the money, and there's 3 opportunities to win it. So.
And the most ballots that you can get into this draw is going to be sub to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Leave a 5-star review. If you just do it on Apple Podcasts with your handle, that's going to be great. If you do it on Spotify, screenshot it to me on Twitter, email it at thepatmayoexperience@gmail.com. Because those don't show up for whatever reason. But, yeah, we can always use more Spotify reviews when it comes down to it. Tell a few friends, too, to get them in the draw. You can split the money with them or whatever if you guys end up winning. Who knows? What do you got going on at Run Pure rest of the week? And you're not going to be here next week. I think Meanie got into the flow of how we're building.
Yeah, it's
good. But I think he'll be back next week. Well, you're in Nolans trying to win $2.5 million.
That's exactly where I'll be. Right now this week, just got the normal stuff going on. So it'll be Sunday morning, 8:45 a.m. Eastern time on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel, doing the live show Off the Chalk. It's free. You can check that out there. Find me on Twitter at ToeTagandTambo, runpuresports.com, promo code RPSHeater25.
RPSHeater25 at runpuresports.com to get into that. Promo code MAYO or runthesims.com/Mayo for the optimizer, the prop tool, and all the customizable projections you could ever need. Easy to build, and make your rules at runthesims.com. Play in the Listeners League, smash the like, sub to the channel, and hey, subbing to the channel will get you at least, 3 ballots into the draw. So 500, 500, 1,000, all coming before Christmas. So thank you all for watching. I'm Pat Mayo. We'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!